Here we go.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm also the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And in 2023, 2022, and 2021, the team reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. Also, I am a featured contributor to the Fly Nubian Queen YouTube network that's run by Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. Thank you so much on that. And that subscriber base on that YouTube channel is 570,000 people. So as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem, and a few little housekeeping things. As always, if you haven't, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the subscribe button and notification button. Adding on to that, follow me on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And two, if you want to, please, if you want to, call to action. If you want to advertise, your product, business, or service on any of the platforms that I host, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. So we're broadcasting live on February 18th, coming to the near half over Black History Month. And what are you doing for Black History? Well, one of the things I like doing for Black History is doing this, having Black Canada Talking and partnering up with Cesar Ndema-Moussa, who is with us today. What is up, Cesar? You need to unmute yourself. There we go.
Hi, Dr. Vibe. Hi, family. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be with you always. Hi. Thank you. I'm good. Working hard, family.
Yeah, well,
community.
You're making me mad today. You took out my friend isn't with you today. I'm so used to seeing a hand coming in the stream or some hair coming in the stream today.
Yes, my little 2-year-old is having family dinner, and I said I would join them after the show, but it's February. We're in Canada, in Ontario, so after the show, I'm gonna go do some snow shoveling. That's what I will do.
Yeah, I did some on. Was it Friday, Thursday, or Friday? One of the 2 days we had some snow, but it was the first time we'd had any significant snow, at least in 2024.
Yeah.
So it's not bad. But what's going on in your world otherwise?
Working, and engaging the community. Also, it's not just, Black History Month. It's not just about galas. I mean, I'm presenting every week, conferences, also trainings on top of work. So for me, really presenting, giving conferences on Black History Month, notably Black Resistance. When you look at example, last Thursday, I had a morning conference to a federal department, and my afternoon conference to a health and community resource center. And this week, notably, I'm giving a training to a Crown corporation.
Oh.
And next Monday, I'm having a conference/interview regarding EDI and issues in society, basically with the University of Ottawa.
Okay.
So the flyer, the link, I can totally send that to you.
If you could, that'd be most appreciated. I could share it out with the people in my constellation. Absolutely. That'd be great. Congratulations on your wins, man.
Thank you. So all these challenges, but it's for the good cause of our people, right? It's important that we, it's not just about having a black face on the screen or in front of people. Mm-hmm. It's a black face, a black mind, and a black heart. And I truly say it that way because we know how white supremacy makes things such as black face look as a negative, Black mind, negative connotation. Black heart, negative connotation. As our hero, Dr. Martin Luther King said, right here, the thinker, Martin Luther King said, look in the dictionary. Every adjective to black is negative,
Negative.
evil, etc. Meanwhile, Brother Malcolm X said, who taught you to hate your skin? So when I come in those spaces, the privilege of my knowledge, of the courage that it takes to speak true, uh, it's not about against white people. Never. That's not who I am. But it's about uplifting our people and truly uplifting all of humanity.
Good stuff. Want to say to Antonia Razlik, hey, what are you doing? Thanks for stopping by.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming into this conversation live, and tell us what you're chiming in. And if you're watching live, especially any questions, comments, Cesar would love to have them. Before we
Mhm.
get into our first conversation piece, Cesar,
Mhm.
when Black people go into those spaces,
Mhm.
how should they go in? What's the mindset they should go in? I know we weren't supposed to chat about this, but you seem to have a certain mindset when you go into those, a lot of times, significantly non-black spaces. What is your
I'm
mindset
usually the
that
only
you could
black.
share?
I'm
Yeah.
usually the only black person, if not the only black man. Um, how can I put it? So on one side, it is absolutely true that black people are not a monolith. So whatever I could say, or even if I would have a great presentation as Cesar, can bring, I still don't represent all black people. But at the same time, just as we are not a monolith, the truth of the matter, which notably too many black people love to deny, is that we are seen under the lenses, first and foremost, of race through the prism of white supremacy. When I speak of white supremacy, I am not speaking solely of white of European descent. I am speaking of Indo Europeans. So you look at all the way Iran, AfPak, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all the way going to the Caucasus, aka the Caucasians, Turkey, Russia, and Europe. Because we are first seen as black people, what kind of mindset? Well, the truth of the matter is, how does one see themselves? What brings them into that room? What is the message that they intend to pass on? Uh, I often remind people, and this may surprise people, I'm a Pan Africanist. I am not an Afrocentrist. It's a very subtle difference in which I don't consider that everything is about Africa or Africa started this or invented this or is the best. No. But my Pan Africanism, universal Pan Africanism, is to bring these truths regarding Black people on the four corners of the world. And as such, it takes courage to speak the truth because it's easy to lie, it's easy to not say anything, it's easy to keep the status quo. And as Franz Fanon told us, it's much easier to wear a mask. I
Mm.
don't wear any mask. I present. My earrings are there. My earrings don't come off. Look at my wrist. It doesn't come off because I'm presenting in front of other directors. I wear my traditional hat. My shades are there. It's not to be cool. They look good, sure. I have an eye condition. If someone looks at them and thinks I'm trying to be the cool black guy in the room, that's their problem. So there will always be stereotypes and prejudices and etc. etc. But I remain true and steadfast, honoring my ancestors, standing on the shoulders of giants, and knowing as a husband, as a father, as one with the honor of being called a community leader, as a Pan Africanist, I speak for many who can never imagine themselves in the room.
Wonderful. All right. Speaking about speaking their truth, first
Mm-hmm.
conversation topic. And was it Friday? I have my phone with me and Cesar. Usually I'm texting Cesar, but Friday was Cesar texting me. I'm going, oh my, when Cesar's texting me, something's up. And he asked me, he goes, brother, are you, it was on Thursday, brother, are you listening to DA Fannie Willis in court? Question mark, and says intense. So I thought that'd be a good way to lead off our conversation. So what are your thoughts about Fannie Willis and the whole trial business?
Huh. How can I put it? Controversial. Controversial because, and this may either surprise or disappoint some of our listeners, black people just as allies. But to put it to you like this, there was on that evening, I believe it was that evening on CNN, our sister and former prosecutor Laura Coates had not a town hall, but something called Laura Coates Court of Public Opinion, something like that. And all four panelists, two white men, one white woman, and a black woman, pretty much all agreed that she did poorly. Fannie Willis did poorly. The black woman, the sister, was less harsh on her, but the three white people were very harsh. She did not do poorly. I went from, and I stand on this. She was, although it's true that she was unethical in terms of hiring as the district attorney to hire a prosecutor with whom she had had a relationship with. And of course, by relationship, I'm talking about romantic and those who need imagination. You can add sexual if you wish, whatever you want. So she had a personal slash romantic relationship with the prosecutor. Poor judgment, lack of ethics. A lot of criticism can come, but I am not the only one, and I heard from other analysts who were listening, who came to the conclusion that it did not impede on not only the quality of the brother to be the prosecutor, because it's a black man, but also on her as a district attorney, and we must add, as a black woman, to do an efficient job. So this is a matter of optics. But, and this is where it gets interesting. So where the crux of her basically being at the bar, being put to the question, and she said it so well, she's not the one on trial. Trump is the one who's supposed to be on trial. But the attempt to discredit her, to assassinate her character in terms of making it seem in terms of her giving this preeminent position to this black prosecutor, and I apologize, I'm forgetting the name of the brother, but because she had a personal relationship that she would have benefited financially from him getting that position. And yet, it was revealed that this brother, although he had not yet had experience in that type of case, is a very efficient prosecutor. He's very efficient, just as herself as a district attorney. So the way I look at it, and this is why to me, I did go from, yes, ethical issues that will just rejoice Trump, his sycophants, and his fans. But at the same time, this very well illustrates how the American democracy, just as the very concept of America, land of the free, freedoms and rights, all men are equal, etc., etc., the idea of America has never been more in peril than with Trump. It wasn't at peril as such because of bin Laden. It wasn't at peril such during the Cold War and the USSR. It wasn't at peril as such because of Pearl Harbor and the Japanese. The Great Recession didn't put it in peril as such. You'd have to go back to the Civil War, 1861, 1865. Donald Trump is absolutely destroying the very fabric of America beyond the notion of dividing it. He is killing the idea of America. And as such, this black woman, this district attorney, this sister being put to the question, kind of like being put to the sword, as if she's some evil, corrupt district attorney. She is the shame of America. Meanwhile, you have this orange-haired number 45 so-called president who is racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic. He's a liar. Obviously, he's not really a Christian. But let's add, and this is confirmed by the court, he's also a rapist. He's the one supposed to be on trial, and yet it's this sister who is put there. So no, she has my support. Yes, poor judgment, 100%. Who doesn't have poor judgment? Who hasn't had poor judgment? And I absolutely agree. A case so big, you can't be 100%. You have to be 150%. And because you're black, you have to be 200%. Maybe because she's a black woman, she had to be 250%. So yes, poor judgment, lack of ethics. But it is not such a poor judgment and lack of ethics as to say the brother prosecutor is a mismatch to the job. He's not. So they didn't have a past relationship. Did she even lie about it? Did she benefit from it? It hasn't been proven. It was said that she held her ground so well on Thursday that her team didn't see a need for her to appear on Friday. And I agree, because those Trump lawyers were trying to make her trip, asking time and again the same questions. I listened to it on the radio because, of course, working and, conferences and all that, I'm trying to catch what I can. But even as one of, my step uncle, if I can call it as such, Uncle Billy in Atlanta, watched it a little bit, he noticed that too. They didn't have anything solid, concrete. All they had was, let us taint negatively this black woman as this evil, corrupt district attorney in order to break this case against our man, Trump, despite the 91 accusations or indictments against him. Who can imagine someone with 91 indictments still being free? Not Obama.
So I've read some commentators saying, isn't it funny that they're 45's team is trying to prosecute Fannie Willis on morals? And since when was Donald Trump such a moral? Like, I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Absolutely. It's but it's a reflection, and this is what I say. It is far less Donald Trump the problem. It's a lot of the sycophants and his fan base who keep supporting this man, because you keep supporting him, he keeps going. And yet they themselves would not be able to have so much leeway as he has. We're talking about that same man that in the same week got found guilty to pay over $350 million for multiple frauds. And his team is trying to come off as moralistic because this black woman, let's just say, let's pretend that they're correct, made an error of judgment, was unethical in naming someone she had a personal relationship with as a prosecutor. This is what us as black people, we rightfully call the caucasity. It's not the audacity, it's the caucasity. You gotta be not just white, because we gotta be careful here. Many white people oppose Donald Trump, and even those who support him know full well they couldn't be able to get away with as much as he is. This is the extent of white privilege, even if we don't say white supremacy, aka someone like Hitler, but this is the extent of white privilege today in America. A man of such low nature as Donald Trump trying to have his team bring down on moral basis a district attorney as Fannie Willis. It's not just political, it's not just personal. This is the fabric of America that has never been so pure, so holy. Absolutely. Slavery was kept there in 1776. 1865 happened, a few years, and then we had segregation. The Black Panther Party got banned. The KKK never got banned. So America has never been this pure, holy, New Jerusalem, New Rome nation. But with a man like Donald Trump, it just keeps sinking lower and lower. I mean, the Titanic sunk. It eventually hit rock bottom. Where's the bottom with Trump?
Well,
where's the bottom for his fans, for his sycophants, for those weak congressmen and senators who are supporting him? And for anyone who misunderstands, I'm not a Democrat. Don't put me into your left-right narratives. I'm a Pan-Africanist. Look at my shirt. Mexico, 1968, John Carlos and Tommy Smith. These are my people. I don't do left-right politics. I'm just calling it as it is for Black people, but especially for the truth. Where am I wrong?
Okay. And Eunice Graham, thank you for your support. Very good point here. She says she hired a white woman, a white man, and a highly qualified Black man. If she had an affair with a white man, we would not be discussing this.
Eunice, I didn't even think about that, but how correct are you? You are so right. I am humbled. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Well, I want to take it to another, and Eunice adding on this, I was going to ask Cesar on this. What would this trial be if Fanny was a Frederick and he was Black?
You see, the truth of the matter is that with respect to intersectionality, notably of race and gender, that meets a Black woman, when it comes to a Black man, notably in the context of politics, justice, and social perceptions, it's always worse. It's always worse in terms of which, I mean, we are almost 4 years after the recorded murder of George Floyd. It's worse because the Black man is seen as a direct threat, where I would say the Black woman is seen as an indirect threat, but still a threat because she births the next generation of Black children, aka Black adults. But the Black man is a direct threat, which must be culled, broken, controlled, neutralized, etc., etc., neutered right away. So absolutely, if we were talking instead of Fannie Willis, aka a Black woman, we're talking of Frederick Willis, a Black man. I don't know to what extent they would have gone or they could have gone. And that's an excellent point. If the prosecutor was a white man, would we even be hearing about this? So, of course, they would have tried to find something else. But how convenient. This is a Black man. Let's taint them negatively. Let's look at the finances. I mean, for me, there's something when I was listening to this, and if there's any Black woman listening, please understand, as a Black man, oldest brother to two sisters, one in New York, one in Paris, it saddened me so much when the sister, Fannie Willis, had to be explaining how she manages her finances in keeping hard cash at home, going on dates, having cash on her, making sure that no matter what happens, notably through divorce and having children, she must have cash. She must have a mean. This is not some I'm independent, I don't need a man type of angry feminist, whatever. No, this is just a reality of, as she said, my father taught me that. And she said something that I really liked. She clearly said, I am not going to emasculate a Black man here. My God, how do you want me to not support this sister? Because the nature of the attacks against her, It wasn't just racist. It wasn't just political. It wasn't just personal. As I was, Dr. Vibe, how often do I ever text you, pay attention to this? It's intense.
Exactly. Like this, I'm going, whoa. Like I said at the beginning of the segment, I'm usually texting Cesar. He comes to me going, whoa. So I said, we definitely, Cesar is all in on this.
Yeah, because I'm like, this is not just about Fannie Willis.
Oh.
Brothers and sisters who are listening, and allies, white and non-black allies, whatever. As we are in 2024, this critical year where there will be elections in the US and in other countries, you have to understand Fannie Willis, to me, represents very well blackness. This was white supremacy trying to dismantle, to discredit, to destroy the blackness of Fannie Willis. It wasn't just destroy her professional credibility. It wasn't just trying to destroy her intellectual judgment or no. It was trying to destroy her blackness. It was trying to, these black people cannot be professional. These black people, who are they to try to judge us high and mighty? Kind of like, those movies about the European 17th, 16th century, the nobles on top, like, looking down upon the peasants. That's really what it was like. How could I not support this sister? Yes, we can talk about poor judgment, Fanny, don't note him, but we can talk about ethics, deontology, maybe. No, but the brother is competent, number one. And number two, the sister is being attacked, not just professionally. It's very personal, but ultimately, it's very racial. It's also about her as a woman. Her as a woman. I mean, Trump has a history of this. Look at New York, Leticia James. What are the things that he didn't say about her? Even in his own party, Nikki Haley eventually attacking her. I mean, she's a white woman, but she's Indian. So, like, you know what I mean? This is white supremacy unhinged. As Nikki Haley said, it's white supremacy unhinged. Trump, his sycophants, politicians, his fan base, and his lawyers will stoop to no bottom. The Titanic hit rock bottom. It hit the bottom of the sea. The Trump team will create a new bottom. They will open that bottom. They will dig. They will go lower. But eventually, even on Earth, you eventually hit the core. It's lava. You burn yourself. It will happen. It will happen. Call me a prophet. It will happen.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break because that was a good first. As always, Cesar is dropping knowledge bombs all over the place. And we're going to be back in about 90 seconds after we hear from Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins, supporters of the Dr. Vibe show and things that Dr. Vibe does. So keep it locked. We'll be back in about 90 seconds.
And that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. No, really, the rappers get all the attention. Seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Over like the twerkers and the just people that don't always represent the best of us. The diversity. Like people like Dr. Vibe. Like everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr.
Really
Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people.
Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. A lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. Helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
We are back. Hail up, Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. Okay, we are back. So, got some more people chiming in, more comments coming in. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's bring on our next conversation. You know what? Before we go that, let me say that if you want to get in touch with Cesar, there is his email address, present at Roots and Culture Canada, and Facebook, his Facebook link. So I just want to make sure you know that. I think I've also shared that on the chat on all the platforms that you are watching this live or on replay. So let's continue on our epic conversation. Immigration. And this is going to, I think, of being a continued conversation piece that myself and Cesar are going to have. I have to thank Cesar publicly. I had the opportunity to. There's a young man that I'm uplifting who is a student, international student from Cameroon, which is Cesar's homeland. And I said, you know what? This gentleman's having a really challenging time. For those who maybe in Canada, you don't even know, but the situation for international students is getting more and more difficult. And also immigration wise, especially Black people when it comes to immigration in this country. And I don't hear the same challenges for those who are not Black. Maybe there are, but I'm only hearing it from those our people. And basically, he's in a situation in 11 more days because of the education system, especially private education, and what they are doing, questionable practices when it comes to international students. It's not good, but the whole immigration piece is becoming more and more to the front of the conversations I'm having these days. So Cesar, what do you want to add on to this?
Dr. Vibe, I have to really say it's really disturbing. Disturbing because, let's not be hypocritical here. This is not something new. It just has become exacerbated in the larger context of many things going on, such as not only the inflation, the rising prices of things, but notably the lack of affordable, not just the lack of homes, the lack of affordable homes. And as such, we find ourselves in this mix where there's also an entire geopolitical context in terms of Canada's influence in the world. I mean, although the story of Canada's immigration and international students really got brought forward using the example of Indian students, the CBC, etc. The truth of the matter, and you said it so well, Dr. Vibe, there are countless Black, African/Caribbean students, international students who are here in our cities who are struggling. They are struggling notably because they have been scammed. They've been scammed back home by recruiters, painting to them this idyllic vision of you coming to Canada, you're going to have a home, you're going to have a dorm, things cost this much, and then they discover it's 2 to 3 times more. And it's not just in terms of how much they have to pay for the school. It's a business. It's a business with large profit margins. This has been demonstrated with some of these colleges that heavily rely on them. And let's not be hypocritical. Universities also rely on them. But especially there are colleges that make literally the bulk or the vast majority of the revenues of these international students. It's a scam. It's a scam. We have to call it what it is. And it becomes very problematic when we have a nation of Canada that in its values keeps claiming to be the best country or one of the best countries to live in. And yet, even if we don't want to talk about so many indigenous communities lacking clean drinking water, residential schools, and intergenerational trauma, even if we don't want to talk about systemic racism upon Black people, but also ongoing systemic issues such as violence against women, disability, LGBTQ issues in Canada? What about issues with religious minorities such as Jewish minority, but also Muslims? Even if we don't want to talk about those, on the international stage, this issue is growing. Is it growing to the point where it may create problems of Canada's international image and people not coming through? Well, it will. It will eventually, because people talk to one another. Right now, as you are Black people, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Ghana, people from Ghana are counting as the second or third largest group of foreign students coming to Canada. They may eventually start to decide to go to another destination. But at the same time, as we are criticizing, and I say this very important point, and this is true, as we point the finger, we must never forget that there are fingers pointed at us. It's great to point the finger at Canada, but let's be honest. What are the authorities in our countries back home not doing to ensure higher quality education, higher learning, the colleges and universities that should be more than adequate so that one doesn't feel like having the name of a Canadian university is going to substantially increase the potential of getting a good paying job. It's a geopolitical problem. We are just seeing it at a national and notably community level, including when we talk about refugees sleeping in tents in Toronto. It's geopolitical, ultimately. It's socio-economical. It's remnants of history through domination, oppression, and marginalization. But we also need to address our leaders. It is, yeah, please go ahead, Dr.
Yeah, and I'm going to expand the conversation a bit, and I think I've mentioned on previous conversations. There's a lady I know, her husband, and her young son came to Canada maybe 3-4 years ago, and now they're on the basically, and they've taken courses. The lady told me one of the courses she took, like, she got charged $30,000. Let me say that again, $30,000. They're in debt. And they were told just recently, like they live in the Greater Toronto area, they were told that if they, and I don't know what her situation is right now, but it was coming to be very, very challenging because she was basically told, you got to get, and there was only certain types of jobs she could get. You have to meet this certain requirement, or you and your family have to move to Nova Scotia. That's the only place in Canada that you could live. Now, the other thing is too, that because they're older, their only choice was Nova Scotia, but because their son is younger, their son could stay in Ontario. Right? And interesting. So KB says, why not go to other cities outside of Ontario, Quebec, BC, and Alberta? Is the cost of living not much lower than other cities and provinces?
It's almost a good question, but the problem is this. Let's be honest. When someone comes as an international student to Canada, and notably they're selected to attend a particular school, why is it that the impetus should be on them? Because if we go by that logic, there would be a lot of internal migration within Canada from people departing provinces which have a higher cost of living. Ultimately, the problem, like I'm saying here, is geopolitical internationally, but also political right here. If we are able to have politicians, and I don't even say this to criticize them, but let's think about it. If you're able to have politicians who can talk about a buck a beer or no need to renew license plates, then clearly there is money to make sure that people who are coming here to improve their life, and it is proven that when the quality of reception and integration is assured, a majority or a significant number of foreign students stay and establish themselves to the country. So therefore, there is, as in investing, a return on investment. If we don't create the conditions for a return on investment, are we not penalizing ourselves? This is a very honest question, because the issue, for me, the issue is even less how much it costs, but it becomes even more the lies and manipulation, aka the scam made to attract people here and to get them in dangerous situations where they feel stuck in order to benefit from them. Mental health, isolation, depression, risk of suicide. Let's be real.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of these students not only are coming for education, but they're leaving situations that are not the greatest either.
Yeah. And for
And
them to come, you have parents and sometimes communities that sacrifice.
look, I've been doing my best to help a group of young ladies from Africa. Many of them have left their children at home for a better life. Their goal is to get established so they can get their children and family over. So Michelle has a comment here saying the provincial government has always kept the private institutions in business through the former second career program, which is now Better Jobs in Ontario. So Michelle, I won't say she knows this system very well. So again, looking at follow the money.
Business.
You know, it's a business, definitely through the second career pro, which is now Better Jobs. So obviously, the government has to be questioned on its intent and where they're putting their money and investment and time when it comes to these individuals who they say they're needed here.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, they're needed here.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I remember over the last year reading more and more stories, not just necessarily students, but other immigrants from other countries. They're coming to Canada, they're going back home.
If it's not beneficial to stay here, why would they stay?
Exactly.
And at the same time, was it maybe a month ago? I was speaking to this young man who finished his master's and he was planning on going back to India, talking very negatively about Canada. As a proud Canadian, yes, I do have some Canadian pride, of course. I'm telling him, no, Canada is not all negative. But how to deny his reality when he has had these negative experiences of being in the same classroom and paying so much more to learn the same thing, to be evaluated the same, and to have the same piece of paper as a Canadian who is paying 2 to 3 times and sometimes more less than he is.
Yeah.
Considering that even for him to come has been family sacrifices on top of being alone here for the completion of his studies to gain a master's, I believe, in engineering. So yes, it's easy to say, yeah, but they go back home, they become the elites, the cream of la creme. But no, it's not that simple. We become a problem when we claim to be a certain type of countries, and yet we have situations as such that are coming forward. It becomes an issue of preaching equity, but maintaining inequities.
Well said. Well said. Michelle says it is big business. Now the international students are on the hook for sudden fees. It makes me ill.
Well said. Well said. And please let us dare to be controversial.
Ah,
Let us dare to be controversial. When we talk about international students, it's not the same reality when so-called international students is coming from Western Europe versus coming from somewhere from Southeast Asia or somewhere in Africa. You have a different reality at home itself. It's not for nothing that, for example, we see hundreds and thousands dying to reach, unfortunately, the fortress called Europe in the Mediterranean Sea, just as one of the immigration roads that are coming into the US is through South America. And we're finding Ethiopians, Congolese, we are finding people from the Middle East. It's also a security issue in terms of potential terrorists, etc. But a lot of them are students. A lot of them are people who are vying for a better life. Please, don't get me wrong. I'm not here preaching open borders and everybody moves whichever they want. But first of all, let us recognize that borders are a fictional creation for powers and interests in the same way that the very nature of these student fees are a creation for interest. Let's be honest. How many people in Ontario could have ever thought that there could be such a thing as no need to renew your license plates? So if that can happen, why is it that we can't better address this uh, issue, this controversy of international student fees, notably with rising cost of life, notably with, more complex geopolitical issues? I mean, Canada is now warming its relations with China because eventually, it's not good business to stay cold with China, the second economy of the world. That is a telling sign of the reality of business.
So KB says, indeed, this disconnect is a problem. How do we propose we rectify this?
I am not here to pretend having the solutions per se, but as I say, we cannot, in terms of values, as a nation, Canada, and here, this is not a matter of being white or whatever. No, no, no. If you have a passport that says Canada, when you go out there, you represent Canada. We cannot claim to the world to be a nation of equity, human rights, and all these things that we preach when there's an issue somewhere in the world, and yet having people who come to our land, and I say this with much respect to indigenous peoples, of course, people coming to our land and experiencing such inequities that it makes our claim of equity be false, our claim of human rights be false, our claim of being the number one nation or top 10 nation, best to live in nation, make it false. If truthfully, and here, let me give credit to Doug Ford, our Prime Minister of Ontario. If you're able to cancel the renewal of license plates, and I was in a meeting, an EDI, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusivity Committee, that made a calculation about how much it represents. And I think there's an article. It basically represents either $1 billion or $1.4 billion that the province is asking. That means there's money. That means we can do it. But is the political will there? And yes, governments have decided to address colleges and universities that are really maximizing on international students. That's great. We want Canada to be that beacon of light, of hope, of renewal that it claims to be according to its constitution. Let us tackle the business of international students. Let us tackle the money.
All right. Last conversation topic for today. And Cesar was chatting about this before we went live. Came out of a conversation that you were having. So give us a little lens on this. Black men in the media and where are the black male leaders? Go ahead.
Well, I had a great interview yesterday for a university research study. Allow me not to say the name of the university because, I don't want to kill the secret of what's being done. But basically, he was addressing black men in the media, and the research candidate, the PhD candidate who was interviewing me, it's her research. It's a sister. She brought to me the question that many ask, notably women, where are the black male leaders? Well, I'm here. Dr. Vibe is here. We are here. But I dare to ask these questions. When we talk about, because it's really two-part questions here. When we talk about black men in media, there are many black men in media. But let's be honest, far too often it is under the prism of what I call the first cancer of the black psyche, entertainment. That's what we see. Musicians and athletes. And don't get me wrong, I would not want to live in a world without entertainment. I criticize often Michael Jackson for his skin bleaching and features changing, but Michael is the king of pop, the greatest entertainer ever existed. Muhammad Ali, the greatest athlete. Oh, yes. Everybody knows my sport is football. My number one sport is football. Number two is basketball. So you would think I would say Pele You would think I would say Michael Jordan. No, no, no. They haven't had the standing up for social causes that Muhammad Ali has had. So this is not against entertainment, it's against toxic entertainment and the perpetration of stereotypes against black people. And here I often give the example of a black man that actually I really like this brother. He was my favorite basketball player as a teenager. But as an adult, as a professional, as a man who addressed these issues, for all that he's a successful businessman, he's an NBA Hall of Fame legend and all that. Shaquille O'Neal is a problem for me. Shaquille O'Neal is a problem for me because he is very comfortable acting as a clown. And because he acts as a clown, he comforts stereotypes about the dark skinned, tall, big, muscular, bald headed black man that me and you look like. So coming into those rooms, and I know some people will be offended or will disagree with me, but coming into those rooms, in those rooms of powers, in those rooms of senior leadership, in those places of power conversations where I come in as a regional director, as a consultant, where I come in literally not just to educate, but to address policies. Very often, the perpetration of stereotypes and prejudices that are carried by far too many black men play against me before my credibility is seen. Whether we talk about Shaquille O'Neal, Terry Crews, look at me, Mr. T, I can give so many examples, but the point is this. Black men are there, but the perception in the media, because we dominate in entertainment, but we don't control it, plays against us. I do not care how black people try to justify it. You cannot be a black man whose wife has won so many Grammys, more than anyone else, and then you go complain that they never gave her the Grammy for Best Album of the Year, and yet you are a billionaire. Create your own damn thing, my brother. Jay-Z, you know I'm talking about you. What's the point of you being a billionaire to go complain that your wife should get some plastic golden thing? She doesn't get it. Create your own thing. Call Oprah. Call Tyler Perry. I don't know if it's still okay to call P. Diddy, but call those other rich, famous billionaire. Call Aliko Dangote in Africa. Afrobeats, Africa is on the map. Create those black awards. Why is it that we have to value ourselves through the prism of white lens when we can create our own thing? And as such, we can therefore impose better, more constructive role modeling of black men, not just for black youth and boys and other black men, but also for our sisters, also for the women, also for those who want to be our allies in the cause. Show me those Jewish minstrels who are okay to perpetrate the negative stereotypes that the Nazis said about Jewish people. Show me those Chinese minstrels who are okay to perpetrate the negative stereotypes that Japanese created and said about Chinese people. Show me those Palestinian minstrels, and here, shout out to DJ Khaled, who was very silent about what's happening to his Palestinian people, but show me those Palestinian minstrels who are very much okay with confirming the stereotypes that Israel is painting about them. I can't think of a name of any.
Yeah.
But when it comes to us as black people, it becomes a problem. And that problem is what leads to the second part of the question. Who are the black male leaders? We are here. I'm here. You there. Right now in the United States, what happened in Harvard? The Harvard president, Claudine Gay.
Yeah.
It's not so much because she apparently plagiarized. By the way, for those who don't know, there was a study that did confirm that although it can be argued that some elements were not properly cited, it would be inconclusive to claim that she plagiarized per se. However, the attack against her, notably by billionaire hedge fund investor Bill Ackman, whose wife actually did plagiarize, and this was confirmed by business
Yes, we
insiders.
don't hear a lot about that.
We don't hear that. She's getting that white privilege that is like, whoop, it just slips under the table. But the black woman, oh my God, horrible, horrible black female leadership. No, we are having an attack on EDI, equity, diversity. Most people say inclusion. I say inclusivity, but also on anti-black racism. And as such, what it does is that black males who are standing up for the cause of our sisters, such as an attempt will be made to defund the targeted investment towards black women in business in the United
In
States.
the U.S., yep.
There are black men who are at the forefront to protect that. We have, and I don't need to remind anyone how I oppose Christianity and Islam in the black community, but we have people like Reverend Al Sharpton who are at the forefront to stand up for our sisters, to stand up for the community. We don't even need to look into the celebrities. We have people who are there.
Absolutely. No, because we have to. So when out on this, I guess considering myself a black man in the media, we have to realize that a lot of people that a number of blacks and a number of whites look up to, they're puppets. They're puppets. Here's the perfect example this year. And the infamous Cat Williams interview done by Shannon Sharp. A lot of layers, a lot of lead to say to that. But let's look. It's probably, if not the second most, it is now the most viewed video of all time on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And it really and truly, it's about criticizing this and this and that. And then you saw even the other day, like and I respect Shannon Sharp, but he has become popular because of gossip, because of beef, because of controversy.
It's feeding into the stereotypes about black people. They can't come together. They can't organize. Crabs in a barrel when crabs should never be in a barrel. But truly, and this is not against Brother Shannon Sharp, nor Cat Williams, nor even Shaquille O'Neal or Terry Crews. For all I can dislike their antics on TV. No, it's not about them. It becomes about the community because eventually we are seen through those lenses.
Absolutely. That's a thing.
How is it that we have a video of a black man bashing other black men, rightfully or not? Obviously, anyone who knows me knows I'm not into comedy. My favorite comedy thing is still CB4. Back in 1993. So that kind of tells you how much I don't follow comedy. And CB4, Dave Chappelle, that's my comedy. Okay.
Yep.
But and the Boondocks. Let's make sure that I mention the Boondocks. Shout out to the Boondocks. But that kind of tells you I'm not up to date. But
I don't pay attention to it.
Why is it that we would have the Shannon Sharp? What is it? Club Shay Shay.
Club Shay Shay. Yep.
There you go. How is it that we would have that and that video?
You know what?
Know many of the people who watch that video are not even black. They're not black. They're not in the black community. Go ahead, Dr. Vibe. I'm here.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the audience first. So KB says two interesting comments. As a culture, we must celebrate and encourage academics, entrepreneurialism, and family values. Our issue, in my estimation, is the imbalance in what we celebrate. True. And then also says, additionally, the machine behind celebrating black trauma is all too profitable. We need to return to Garveyism. Well, one of the things I always say, black trauma is $1 billion industry.
More
right? When you see exactly right. And again, here's a perfect example for our US people. There is a network called Tubi. It's an online streaming network in the United States. Now, I didn't know about it till recently, and I have to give credit to Roland Martin, did an incredible breakdown about black media about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Guess who owns Tubi?
Who owns Tubi?
Fox.
Oh wow.
So a number of black men say, you got to get on Tubi. You got to get on Tubi. You got to get on Tubi. So Roland Martin's saying, okay, here I am trying to launch or try to keep surviving a black independent network that covers, serious issues. And says, and many of you all want to get on Tubi, entertainment, ratchet shows, etc., all this. And then you don't realize that when you give your money to Fox, what do they do with that money? They support a lot of initiatives that are anti-black.
Absolutely.
The black male leaders, hey, they'll take, and it's how deep we want to go, because realize a lot of people love football, a lot of black analysts on football, right? That are looked at as leaders, right? And I'm not just picking out Fox, or other networks too. We know that they support their money, all that. Eunice Graham says they're trying to get rid of black excellence, and they're using a lot of black entertainers to do it.
Yes. And it works, because unfortunately, as I explained, when I talk about entertainment being the number one cancer of the black psyche, the hypervaluation of black people, I didn't say over, hypervaluation of black people through entertainment basically creates that black excellence outside of entertainment is not valued by black people themselves.
There's a whole other conversation there.
It doesn't become something to aspire to for a young black man or black woman. And as such, when we look at, again, where are the black male leaders? It's easy to talk about the black male leaders in the 50s and 60s being at the forefront, and we forget that black women were there in the background supporting them. But today, in an age where society has changed, the place of women has increased, LGBTQ issues are at the forefront, etc., disability, mental health, it is normal that we have more women given the spotlight, notably Black LGBTQ, etc., etc. But the black male leaders are also there. They're still there. But they become further and further erased because of the hypervaluation of entertainment, which wasn't there 60, 70 years ago.
Well, I'm going to go a little bit deeper, and I've just put in the comments section, I've asked, and whether you're watching this live on the replay, I put the question, who do you think is a current black leader? And it's interesting. I had a conversation, not going to give the person's name. You know this person. I'm not going to mention their name publicly. And they were telling me about a conversation that they were part of with a leader of a black-led nonprofit organization. And basically that person's lens is that our organization should be the leader for all of Black Canada. And when I heard the name of the person who said this, I was deeply disappointed, because if you have one organization, that's always easier to take down instead of having a group of organizations. And I think, and see, here's the same thing again, getting back to this seems to be the year in black media of the black comedians beefing with each other. And many of them are black men. And then now even Monique has got in the fray, and she called out a whole bunch of people again on Club Shay Shay.
Of course.
And then DL Hughley, what he said in response to her, I just said I had to stop.
I didn't follow. I don't know.
No, you don't want to. It was not pretty. It was, and then you had Monique's son saying, "Oh, my mother just it's." There's a lack.
It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, it's a lack of black male leadership for a number of reasons. Some of it's systemic. I agree, but don't we know better?
We should, but you see, this is also this is part of the trap of integration. And I am not against integration for anyone who wonders. This is where our brother, and I show it, our brother Malcolm X, just as Mandela, they were correct in terms of integration. There's no such a thing as black people living in autarky or on a separate black island, or let's put a quarter of the country to be black only. No, the problem with integration is if you have a lack of black consciousness. When you have that lack of black consciousness, this is what it creates. Because as Franz Fanon was talking about, and the wretched of the earth, we seek white validation. We despair to be accepted, to be loved. We lust after their gaze and their attention, not because they are white, not because we are black, but because we have an inferiority complex, and in our subconscious mind, we see them as superiors. It becomes fundamentally problematic when we talk about leadership. This is an experiment that I did many times when I present, and I still do it when I give conferences or present in high schools. For 2 minutes, asking the teenagers, the high schoolers, to name any rich and famous white person they can think of. And then for a minute or 2 minutes to name any rich and famous black person they can think of. They always finish the 2 minutes for white people, and they still have so many names to add. They never finish the 2 minutes for black people, because they realize the vast majority, maybe except Obama and Mandela, the vast majority of black people they think of are entertainers. We can talk about systemic racism, absolutely. But we also have to address ourselves, accountability in terms of our own community and the people that we let at the forefront under the claim of speaking and representing us, because it becomes so comfortable for non-black people, especially whites, especially elites, to say, well, those are the leaders of the black community. Look at how they're behaving. And then to expand, to extend that narrow view that becomes racist upon the entire black community, which is what I was talking about. When I come in those meeting rooms and conferences, me, regional director, me, consultant, me, member of academic society. Yesterday, I got a message from some student, PhD student, who was so happy to learn from me, because one of my PowerPoints is part of an international certificate on religious trauma, learning and being like, thank you so much. But how often, as black people, we have to prove ourselves so much more, notably because we have people who look like us comforting people who don't look like us of the stereotypes and prejudices that they should have against us.
I just want to add on to, I think part of the challenge too is the message that's being provided we don't have final stamp on it.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't control the narrative. We
right.
We provide the content, but it's kind of like to be. It's kind of like so many things. Ultimately, the pockets.
So it's just like, I think this beats definitely continuous conversation. One of the things, and it all starts in the school system.
It's also
right?
home provide.
At home too, but school reinforces it and maybe even takes it to a deeper level, because our black boys and girls, they are taught to have a job. They're not taught to produce something. I'll let that simmer there. That we're taught to get a job. We're not taught to produce something.
Allow me to confirm to our listeners how accurate you are. And I take for witness my colleague, the CEO of our organization, Roots and Culture Canada, Ketia Peters. I accompanied her as she was delivering an entrepreneurship session to a high school. And she had a question in terms of very normal question, what would you like to do, when you're in 20, 30 years from now, whatever, high schoolers, right? And we had at one of the tables, we had a white teenager whose dream was to own his father's store. I think that's what it is, his father's business. And his black friend at the table. So obviously, this is also a school that doesn't have many black students, but his black friend's dream at the table was to be his employee. Teenagers. Teenagers.
Wow.
This was when 2024. This
Wow.
was before COVID. This was before COVID. In
Wow.
2024, this was before COVID. And then that was said at the table.
Wow. To be his employee.
His employee, not to be an employee of a large company, whatever you want to call it, Fortune 500. No, 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 no. The YK dream was to take over his, I think, either his father's business or to create his business, but basically to be a boss. His black friend at the table's dream was to be his employee, to follow him. In that leadership session, I recall. In that leadership session,
that says a lot right there.
In that leadership session, I remember that whole day there was only one black youth who spoke independently that it moved me. His dream was to become a lawyer, and I suggested to him a book. I don't know if it has been translated in English, but it's called La Brute, the Brute, Brute. It's a book that I read as a teenager regarding a courtroom, a fictional but famous case. I told him, young brother, today you're a teenager. This book won't make sense to you today. I read it. I was about your age. I was a teenager in high school. Read it. Read it again in 10 years. Read it again 10 years later. You will thank me to have read it, as you will understand it as you age. Like, so it's the mindset of our black people. It's the psycho-emotional aspects of domination and marginalization, where even when we see, and you give the example of Club Shay, you give the example, like I give the example of Brother Shaquille O'Neal. Like I say it all the time. Yeah. Shaquille O'Neal has a PhD in education. Can we imagine a community that someone has a PhD in education and is acting like a clown constantly? Why, just because he's rich and famous and he has many businesses, because he has a great team that runs his businesses, and he can be on TNT, joking and come on, that's a problem.
Well, as we end off the conversation today,
and I hope he sees this. Shaquille, no, I mean it. He was my favorite player, Shaq Fu, Mr. Big. You know why I like Mr. Big? The candy bar?
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay, so KB says, to answer your question, and you may know them, Victor Beausoleil and Aita Sadu. I know both of them. I haven't seen Victor in many years, same with Aita, but they are doing great things. And those are the people I'd like to have on this platform, because especially our younger people, but I'm also seeing a lot of people who are older, they need to see these people. They need to see these people. That's why I do what I do. But I'm going to end off. A week ago, there was the Super Bowl. Was won by the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm taking this right from Dr. Boyce Watkins. He's talked about it today. The fan following of the Kansas City Chiefs, does anyone know what they call themselves?
I do not.
Okay. They call themselves the Chiefs Kingdom. So my question, so KB says, but Shaq is having fun. Someone reach out to him with a proposal. Okay, we'll see if we can reach out to him. I'm going to send him a video message and see if he's interested. I'll continue, just finish off my thought. The fans of the Chiefs call themselves the Chiefs Kingdom. So my question to black men is, do you have a kingdom? And what does it look like? And who's it serving?
Especially as too many of our brothers and sisters go around calling themselves kings and queens.
There you go.
And wondering why non-blacks laugh at them.
There you go.
Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the growth of self-esteem, of pride, of talking about Kemet. I mean, just look behind me, Yes, that. But we don't need to talk about being kings and queens looking at ancient history or even painful history talking about African kingdoms. We need to be kings and queens in terms of being strong as a community today. It is not an accident, and I've finished this. I'm being mindful of the time. It is not an accident that a report demonstrated with proof that under Rudy Giuliani's mayorship, I think it's when he was a mayor, the New York police had an explicit or implicit, I don't remember, but it was a policy to leave Jewish and Chinese people alone, but to increase arrest and harassment upon Latinos and Blacks. It is not an accident. We can point the finger at systemic racism, and we must. Talking about slavery and colonization, we must. Neocolonialism, etc., we must. But there are three fingers pointing at us.
We're implicit on it too. It doesn't happen alone. It doesn't happen alone. We're buying in.
Yes.
We're buying in. It can't be always put on. No, we're buying in, and a number of people are buying in, and it's to the detriment of all of us.
Yes.
All of us. All right. We are done. Cesar, thank you for taking the time as always. Another great conversation there where you can get a hold of them via email and Facebook. What's coming up with you, Cesar? Anything that people need to know about?
Well, the big event is next Monday. It will be a bilingual event with Ottawa U in terms of me addressing it's EDI, racism and society. Basically, topics in the news, anything and everything. Those who know me will have received me. They know I don't want to receive people questions ahead of time. I want it to be as authentic as possible. If I don't know, I say I don't know. I don't have a problem with saying I don't know or I'm not sure. So this will be an exercise to come. It will be online. So Dr. Vibe, I will send you the link.
Send the information out so I can send it out to those interested parties. That'd be great. Oh, Michelle Baptiste, who is your number one fan in Ontario, by the way.
Thank you, Michelle.
Outside of your partner, she is your number one fan. And I think what I have to do is set up, even if it's via video, a conversation video-wise with both of you, because she goes, we need a 2-hour show. Well, we went a bit longer today because the boss of the house, the little one, isn't there today. so we had the levity to do a little bit longer, and plus Cesar has to go shovel some snow. And see, Michelle's always, yes, please. So she wants to meet you at least via video. We'll talk about this offline, but Cesar, as always, thank you for making us better. Most importantly, making yourself and your family better, and the many of us that you make better. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. We appreciate you taking time out of your positive, productive schedule to come and share with us, because I know you got a lot of things going on personally and professionally. Look at this. Will it be open to all? Wow, people. Wow. So I think what we have to do, we may have to have just a session with Cesar and invite people. It's like a private session with Cesar. And maybe have to do that, but no. So this
it will be open because it's I should. It's not the first time the University of Ottawa does me this honor, and when they do, the link is open my Pan-Africanism is universal Pan-Africanism, and indeed. I have people who are joining from the 4 corners of the world. People will
share that. Yes. Please share that with me, and I'll get it out there. That is fantastic. Michelle says, "Thank you for your time."
Thank you.
That's the most important thing that he has. So that is it. We will see you as always. You and your family. Make sure you don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself its grace. Take care, my brother. All right, that is Cesar on fire as usual. We had a chance to go a little bit longer because the little boss lady of the house wasn't in today. So we had a chance to go a little bit extended, but we miss her. So as always, a few final things. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also respond, to the great conversations that we have, the epic conversations that we have. Also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on the platform, please email me at dr@, DR period VIBE at the drvibeshow.com. Also, especially KB and Michelle, you said you'd like to do that private chat. Well, Michelle, I've got your email address, but KB, first of all, if you can, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and then email me so we can set up a time to make this happen. I'd love that. I'd love that. That would be absolutely fantastic. So you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the website, the drvibeshow.com. So we got one more comment. Let's make sure we get it in. Vince, Toronto, OC. I hope I said that correct. You'll tell me if I did or not. So as always, we finish off this with this. Sorry, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith, walk good, and follow. More epic conversations coming. Take care.